section of ours in this, am I audible? I'm audible. Sir. Am I audible now? Thank you. Every action of ours in this modern world revolves around data. In fact, our entire life is now data-centric. Whether it's entertainment, online transactions, online games, online learning, online shopping, online banking, online learning, online searching, or location-based services, social media engagement, or for that matter, talking to our relatives and friends over data video calls. Most of our decisions in this digital world are driven by data in professional and personal life. Warm welcome and very good afternoon to all distinguished guests, industry friends, and media friends. Thanks a lot to Bharat Exhibition and BIF and all the sponsors for arranging this interesting discussions and event. And my special thanks to Shashi ji for giving me opportunity to moderate this session. If data is new oil, data center is new oil rig, and AI is new oil refinery. With every passing moment, the AI continues to evolve and move up in the entire value chain to harness and enable actionable insights. I love this word, actionable insights, instead of saying simple AI, for driving efficiency and enablement. And this is making data even more important and critical element of every sphere of our life, action and decision. Product offerings to customer service to supply chain management. The automation leverages vast amount of data to create predictive models and personalized experiences. In fact, Google and Facebook know us more than an entire word know about us. And hence the personalized product offering is a reality now, actually. The evolution of data center in the age of AI and automation marks a transformative shift in how we collect, process, and consume data. Traditionally, DCs were built for basic storage and computing. But as the demand grew, the virtualization and cloudification emerged to optimize resources and ensure shorter time around for quicker scalability. In recent years, the technology evolved further wherein it is compelling to adopt AI. There is no more choice now for enhancing DC operations, optimize energy consumption, and manage the workloads much smarter as compared to the earlier times. The shift towards edge computing is going to ensure decentralized data processing at edges, reducing the dependency on long terrestrial telecom links. And we know it's better because we are also telecom service provider of national footprint. And thus enabling the real-time applications processing at the field itself instead of bringing the entire data to DC's pocket, which are concentrated in places like Noida, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Mumbai. The rise of specialized hardware like GPU is further fueling the acceleration of AI-driven workloads. The MNLP for deeper learning and large-scale data scale analysis. And AI-powered infrastructure allows autonomous operations, reducing intervention of human, which is often a major latency factor in terms of solving the issues. And in fact, DC being new field for a couple of years, we have serious shortage of manpower in this field at a nation level. The telecom has been in the education field at the engineering college for years and years. But somehow the real-time application processing, the IT, the DC pieces are told in the colleges at very, very preliminary level, even at this stage. And as we move into the future, the combination of AI, automation, and cutting-edge hardware will redefine the data center architecture, making them smarter, leaner, more efficient, and capable of supporting the next generation AI applications. We are fortunate to have panelists from diverse backgrounds to discuss various aspects of DC and evolution in these fast changing times. My first question will be to Shri Amit Sehgal, who is a Senior VP Tech Head at SDFC Bank. He is a seasoned engineering leader with 23 years of experience, and he leads wealth engineering and generative AI at SDFC Bank. Mr. Amit, banking has changed a lot in a couple of years. In fact, last couple of years or last couple of months, I will say that the behavior of the customer towards the banking has changed a lot. The transactions are more online rather than in-prem transactions. And hence the role of DC is gaining a lot of prominence over the years. Being the largest private sector bank, how have you evolved over a couple of years? And the second question, which is connected to the first question, is that we understand that backend of banks are changing with the emergence of technologies like AI and automation. But is there any mandate by regulator RBI to adopt some of the tools, or banks are taking proactive actions on suo motu basis to adopt this AI and automation? Mr. Amit.
Thank you for that. Am I audible to everyone? First of all, good afternoon. I think thanks for having me here. So I think there are two pretty interesting questions on the table right now. So probably I'll take them one by one, essentially. So, and it's absolutely right that there is a very systemic shift in the way, banking is portrayed not only in India, but, globally, and specifically in India because of a lot of interventions from RBI. If you have heard of India Stack 2.0, there are a lot of digital transformations happening all around. So there has been a completely systemic move in terms of the way how banking was done earlier versus how Gen Zs and even my father, essentially, who used to take a passbook to bank and get the passbook being filled up, all has changed over a period of time. And the biggest impact started to happen during the pandemic area, so where digital access was need of the hour. People were not allowed to move out of their homes. That's where the major disruption started to happen, right? So you see, if you compare with 2020 to 2024, the amount of UPI transaction is about 10x volumes which have increased, or UPI transactions which are currently running at about 600 million odd transactions in this year, essentially. So that's a very huge volume per se. And not only just UPI transaction, everything. Like earlier, majorly people used to just do for inquiry and stuff like that, account inquiries and stuff like that. People used to call up for digital propositions. Now everything, like even you do UPI payments, you do wealth investment. For example, I lead an application from HDFC Bank, which is Smart Wealth. It's a DIY wealth app, literally, to invest. Everything is completed DIY. It's in your hands. Everybody uses mobile phones, and over the internet they do transactions per se. So everything is moving completely digital. And being the largest private sector bank, we do see the data centers become the backbone of the entire digital transformation which is currently happening in the world, rather than in India as well, right? So, and I think every bank would be facing the same thing, no matter how large or small they are. And now because data centers have become the core, because so many large volumes of real-time, low latency transactions to happen, everything has to scale. Our core systems have to scale. Our data centers APIs have to scale. Our application APIs have to scale. And all of them is completely dependent on data centers and their operational efficiencies per se. And what we have seen, at least how we evolved in last 4-5 years, essentially, is like we saw a large shift in the approach, where we saw like a lot of things like, in the last session also people talked about hybrid cloud, or hybrid data centers per se. So those kind of innovations started to happen. At least in our bank, we have presence on all the 3 clouds, as well as we run our own data centers as well. That gives us very strong elasticity on capability in terms of elastically scale our infrastructure based on the need which we want to have. It also gives us a good fault tolerance. Like whenever we have any kind of fault in any data center, we can switch over to a different data center or a cloud per se, and those kind of resilience is built in. So data centers has become very, very core per se. So there are like a couple of key pillars which we have thought through in the last 4 or 5 years, which we have kept an eye on. One is how can we improve the operational efficiency of data centers, right? So the kind of automations, the kind of work which we want to do on top of it, adopt cloud and things like that, that happened in that arena. I think Mayuresh talked about carbon footprint. So, and I think I also lead generative AI factory. Every department we call it as a factory in HDFC Bank. So even that needs huge amount of power. So like, I don't know how many of you guys have ever used ChatGPT. I should not be asking this question. I would probably see everybody is raising that hand. But do you know how much energy a GPT-3 model, which is like a previous version of the model of GPT-4, GPT-4o right now, which is running, would have consumed, how much energy would have been consumed to train a GPT-3 model? Any guesses? If you compare it with like a day worth of household energy or something like that, any guesses around that? Sorry, somebody said? Approximately, yes. Yeah, so that's the number. Probably I've read that article. So there are a lot of articles around, like if you give energy for an Indian household for about 130 odd years, or even like for an year, you give energy for 130 households. That is the amount of energy being utilized by these kind of large language models to get trained. And all that can be only supported with the finest and the bravest data centers. That's where data centers become very, very core to the entire ecosystem, which could be on-premise data centers, which could be cloud-based data center, which could be hybrid. Now we're also looking into, private cloud-based initiatives, like how would we improve operational efficiencies in terms of utilization of resources, how do we monitor that, and whatnot. So all those things have been, we have been working a lot. There have been a lot of observability tools being applied on our data centers. Firewall security has been enhanced to sort of support different types of hacks which are happening in the banking world. And we do see large amount of hacks happening every day. There are a lot of hack attempts from various countries, certainly on Indian banks, specifically a bank of HDFC Bank grade. We receive a large amount of hacks every day. So there's a large amount of work which is done on data center security, perimeter security, and other aspect of it. So yes, I think data center is very, very core, and there is a lot of work. It is very evolving right now in the industry, and we are very much upbeat about it. I'll switch over to the second question, which was around the role of AI per se in data centers, essentially. I think AI has a role to play everywhere, essentially, like, because as Manoj also mentioned that data is the new oil, and data could be anything. There could be data around financial data. There could be data around IoT metrics. Essentially, for example, you have metrics being deployed in data centers, essentially. So every server is being monitored through an IoT sensor or IoT device. And how do you use that data to take proactive, actionable insight out of it is where AI comes very handy, right? And what I see, I think, in the HDFC Bank, and we are in very early stages of adopting AI into data centers world, essentially, though we have been using AI into other fraud monitoring and other stuff, essentially, and as I lead generative AI factory, so we are starting into generative AI a lot. Essentially, we built the first generative AI bots, etc., within the bank as well. So there's a lot of work around AI any which ways, but within data centers per se to talk about, in order to do the best utilization of our ecosystem, AI becomes very handy because we first have to put all the automations around observability for our servers, our infrastructures, our firewalls, our switches, etc. And how do we see the utilization of each and every infrastructure component and use that data in real time and predict or maybe adjust the load, transfer the load from one application to another or to one server to another to make best utilization of the servers in a way. For example, there are situations where we have been using private cloud infrastructure where we have Kubernetes clusters being running on infrastructure. How do we shift load from one node to another? A lot of things has been driven through rule-based as well as AI-based ecosystem per se. Another thing is where we have early fault detection, even before the fault actually happens. How do we detect that fault to happen beforehand? And that's where a combination of an IoT device plus an AI plus a lot of data crunching ecosystems like Hadoop or data lakes, etc., comes into play. So we have built certain technologies around that as well, where we collect all the metrics from servers, crunch that data into data lakes, use AI ML to do prediction around any kind of faults or any kind of rectification or service calls to be made. So those kind of things are being automated. It's like in motion right now. Apart from that, there are other operational efficiencies which AI brings in terms of how do you, do the operational efficiency around service ticket creation and service ticket routing for infrastructure monitoring and stuff like that. The moment your sensors raises an alert, how do you route that ticket to the right teams, the right ecosystems, essentially. That again, the routers being written in the machine learning algorithms, that's where we use a lot of routing techniques to route the tickets to the right places as well. Yeah, so that's what I would say. The AI is kind of playing a very, very key role in every aspect, and also in data centers, in improving our operational efficiency, improving our utilizations of ecosystem, also doing intrusion preventions through firewalls. So a lot of our firewalls use an AI-powered ecosystem to detect the flow logs of the infrastructure to see are there any intrusions, are there any hack attempts which are malicious, which are not permitted, and raise alarms. So those kind of preventive or precautionary measures are also being developed and deployed using AI, and that's what that's what is being used in HDFC Bank as well. There are a lot of partners which we deal with to develop these kind of solutions for us and deploy in our ecosystem. Yeah.
Thanks, Amit. Very insightful thoughts and deliberation on the topic. One sub-question associated with this. Today, most of the banking transactions are menu-driven. Amit, do you foresee that we are going towards the NLP-based banking sooner or later? And then, if at all, then what will the impact on the DC architecture?
So, could you repeat the question? I couldn't.
Natural language processing.
Okay. Yeah. So, So, specifically with the advent of large language models, generative AI, what we have seen, and this is not specific to a data centers per se, but yes, a lot of banking journeys, essentially, right? You will see a lot of banking journeys have been traditionally workflows. Literally, if you talk about, you follow a step-by-step process of, say, creating opening an account, for example. You follow a step-by-step process of doing a KYC, getting a photo done, doing a video KYC, dropping some money, and then creating some accounts. So there are a set of processes which is very, I would say, I should not call it like legacy because it's very prevalent and it's very effective as well, but it's kind of changing. Now people are getting used to very conversational based mechanisms. So I've seen there are evolutions of journeys in where a lot of onboarding journeys and a lot of transaction based journeys are getting converted into more like bots. Essentially, you just call up and start talking to a bot. It asks you a PAN number, it asks you certain questions, it gets you a video done. All of that, it doesn't seem like you're clicking up and following a workflow. You're just talking to a person and your account gets open or your transaction is done. So those kind of evolutions are currently happening. And all thanks to generative AI, a lot of things are which were looking like difficult earlier in last couple of years. Essentially, a lot of feasibility has come across from generative AI factors, essentially, where we have brought in a lot of journeys which are completely, natural language based. And you'll see, I think, not only HDFC Bank, a lot of other banks in India would start launching such journeys which are completely conversational, end-to-end, where you onboard a customer through a bot, or you do a transaction, you do some investments to a mutual fund or whatever. Everything is done through a conversational bot in a way. So yeah, I think things are evolving. But I think in the next 1 year or so, you'll see a lot of journeys like that coming into play.
Thanks. That's interesting. We look forward to bot talking to us from the bank. My next question is or a couple of questions to Shri Subhash Chandra Kesarwani, who is Director TX and NGS with National Communication Academy. and he's a technocrat and he's MTech from IIT BHU. So Shri Subhash, there are few issues with data centers or challenges with data centers is around the power management and the cooling of DCs, because most of the cost is revolving around these two factors. And as a nodal agency involved in developing the forthcoming National Digital Communication Policy for 2025, is NCA proposing to include this in new policy? Next question is, what are the specialist courses NCA is thinking for upskilling people for DC and AI? And yes, then what are the actions we are going to see on the ground? Mr. Subhash.
Thank you, sir. Sir has put a very right question, and it is the thing which we are working right now. Very correctly, sir said that now we are under process of drafting NDCP 2025. This work is being done at NCA only, National Communication Academy. For last around 6 months, we are working on that policy. And the thing which sir said that how the skilling works. So what are different challenges that I will enumerate here. The first thing is that the cooling system, how that power system will be managed and how things will be done. The same model, I think in 1985 around, the same problem was faced when telecom exchanges were proliferated. At that point of time, similar problem came, and that point of time that C dot came with some product, and because of that, AC problems throughout the country was solved. Sam Pitoda sir was there, and he came and designed some systems. So right now we are at that crossroad again, and that's crossroads is how to proliferate like data center. Now we are working for broadband for all. That unless that broadband connections reach at the every corner of the country, so data center will be coming after that, not before that. So first at every corner of country we will have to take broadband connections so that people can use. If we create data centers at some regional or some district, so how people will use that facility. So for that another fundamental problem is broadband. So right now we are working on the broadband, and NDCP 2018 also focused. In fact, in NDCP 2018 it was target for broadband for all by 2022. That period has passed, and still we are far away from the target. In NDCP 2025, now government is working on a process that it is separate policies underway coming. Apart from that NDCP 2025, a subsector policy totally focusing on broadband for all. So that is also under process that we are right now working. I am also working. Before coming this, I prepared a draft and I came to this place. So right now, when I am here, the discussion is going at NCA about that policy. So that kind of the fundamental things we are working, and with regard to that challenges, that how that once that broadband connections come and people start placing their data center, how the cooling system and power system will come. For that, right now the discussion under which we are going, that is a community-owned network. We are working of community-owned network, because if you place data center at the remote places or in the far-flung areas of country, it will be very difficult for people from cities or for people from urban area to go there and manage. So now we are, I think, in next policy that community-owned network that will be come at big way. And government is going to place a guideline for that, how to come with that, how to subsidize. In fact, government is planning to give a subsidy if you for community-owned network. In that, in community-owned network, people at the local level, they will be managing that cooling system. They will be managing every power system and all the vital areas of this. Though that data center, what type of data and how to that data flow, that will be under control of the agency who will be placing that data center, but all the vital like power, cooling, etc., those are not related to very much about data security or data thing. That can be taken care of by local people. And this is the first question which sir placed. And another question was that how that upskilling work. For upskilling work, it is a very great challenge, which I think in NDCP 2018 also that was a major challenge, and right now also the same challenge we are facing right now also. For that, a lot of work has to be done, and this work will not only be done by government side. So all the industry member, all the government member, and all the stakeholders will have to come. Like when this policy was being drafted, at one point of time, I asked my seniors that, sir, कि ऐसा कोई NGO है क्या? Is there any NGO who is working on the problems of solving the customers' problems? Suppose किसी को कोई problem है तो वो कहाँ जाएगा लेके? I don't know. People will believe or not that the officers who are 20 years senior to me, वो said कि आज तक तो मैंने ऐसा question ही नहीं सुना कि someone never asked कि ऐसा कोई होना चाहिए, कोई NGO की किसी को problem हो तो वो कहाँ चला जाए. Still, though we have system in government, we have all that public grievance redressal system, everything is fine. But the people at the very जो अंतिम पंक्ति में जो बैठा था, पीपल एट द लास्ट रो, जो एक गांव में बैठा हो, वेयर ही विल कम टू, वहाँ तो इंटरनेट नहीं है तो वो कैसे सेंट्रल पब्लिक ग्रीवांस रिड्रेसल सिस्टम पे जाके वो काम करेगा. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग, वो वहाँ पे अगर जब तक हम जाके काम नहीं करेंगे, दैट प्रॉब्लम विल स्टिल बी देयर. सो अप स्किलिंग, द फर्स्ट थिंग इज दैट द ग्रीवांस रिड्रेसल, दैट दिस वॉलंटरी सेक्टर मीन्स NGOs हैज़ टू कम फॉरवर्ड. Being a industry side, industry member also need to think of that. If you are going to empower these voluntary sector, that will be beneficial for industry only. They will bring a lot of business, a lot of upskilling. So this is my request, and this is what we think at the NC. This is right now deliberation is going on. How to engage, how to upskill this voluntary sector, NGOs, or other pressure group and whatever different, even self-help group we are talking, that how to empower them, how can they utilize the existing knowledge, how can they approach the authorities to solve their problems. Unless though they go there, it will be very difficult. If we only talk of establishing data center, that will not solve the problem. Who is going to use that data center, whether they are empowered to use that data center or not. So that we will have to focus, and for that, right now what we think that community and network, community-owned network and community upskilling is the key. And for that, government and industry both will have to work simultaneously. As far as this topic, this topic has been given, artificial intelligence, how that artificial intelligence can work, that can work a lot if we use that broadband connection and the data center. In data center, don't only put the data for the business, rather than there should be a sufficient material for giving training to the users, how they are going to use that data center. So if initial days we should train the people how to use data center. So if that basic is upskilling, if we give a basic upskilling that how to do and how to utilize, how a small child can use that data center to upskill himself or herself, how he can educate himself or herself, rest thing he will do or her, they will do on their own. So that we have to think of fundamental skilling of the people in the last row. So that is the key. This is what we think. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Subhashji. As an industry, we are looking forward for more enablement from government. My next question will be to Shri Prashant Oberoi, Director, India SARC and Norden Communication. He is a seasoned professional with over 2.5 decades of experience, exposure in networking and surveillance. Mr. Prashant, as data center becomes more ubiquitous in the role that play in all the applications, what is your opinion in terms of cybersecurity implications? And as an automation, we are actually seeing that the AI adoption in the DC is slower as compared to the AI adoption at the threat actors end. today more and more coordinated effort, coordinated attacks through AI bots are happening. So is there any solution to respond to those in real time? One is, yes, practices, processes, firewalling, conventional tools. But I think the kind of attacks which are coming in from various places and threat actors, the next level of war, we say that in the digital world, is going to impair the fundamental enablement of citizens. So why I'm talking on this is that you see bombing happening and people are getting killed, so there's a lot of emotions against the country which is bombing. But next round of things which will happen is the bloodless attacks. And they will simply impair your transportation system, they may impair airlines, they may impair trains, they may impair oil pipelines, they may impair refineries. So I think the challenges towards the OEMs or solution enablement is that how do we respond, how do we move the value chain so that we are prepared to handle this kind of attacks. And next question is that what are you working on security by design and customize for various DCs? It's a normal thought that every DC requires similar application, similar security solution. But I think depending on the criticality and the applications which are being processed, there are solutions which are customized to suit the requirement of the customer. Mr. Prashant.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity, and I'm very grateful that I'm part of such a elite panel with so many senior people there. When we are talking about AI and when we are talking about the coordinated attacks, and especially in cybersecurity, though I'm not an expert on cybersecurity, however, as we say, when any war is being fought, it has to be answered in the same manner. Similarly, the AI bots and those kind of attacks, obviously there are regenerative AI technologies which have to be used to counter them as well. Because AI can only be the answer for the AI, because in terms of technologies which we are using today and kind of everyday advancements which are happening, obviously same kind of reply or same kind of response is required to counter them. And there are people, the cybersecurity industry is working, and they are also using a lot of AI in their solutions and continuously enhancing the solutions. And I was hearing the last panel where Pandey sir was telling very clearly, security is never enough. So obviously there will be new kind of attacks and we have to live with it. However, the only thing which we can learn from all this is the same kind of thing doesn't happen in future. We learn that much faster, we learn to respond that much faster. However, once we say this, obviously, being an employee, I have to pull it towards my company, sorry. In any case, the whole infrastructure has to be ready for that, geared up to that. It is not only one segment of the particular thing which can be taken care of. Security by itself doesn't do. Overall infra should be ready in that sense, that it should respond that much faster, the latencies should be that much lesser. The physical infra should be that much stronger and robust. So each and every component of the whole infrastructure system has to be that much faster in current world, that it should respond with that much responsiveness. By bringing in as low as, that's what we were talking in the morning, right from a physical layer, because one of my colleague was talking in the second session, right from the physical layer to the security layer to the network layer, each and every layer has to respond to with that responsiveness. And obviously the answer to conclude is, the whole thing is with the cybersecurity things, AI riding on top of the current cybersecurity measures which we have taken, that can only neutralize the AI-based attacks.
One more question is that how do you see the role of edge data centers? Because now the topic is under discussion at various levels that because we have to move the processing at the edges. And when I'm saying edges means instead of concentrating DCs at the tier 1 cities, the DCs will actually move to tier 2, maybe beyond tier 2 cities also. So given that applications are likely to be more bandwidth intensive and the dependency on terrestrial link is huge, what do you think that what kind of applications or what kind of requirements are there for such applications? Are you working towards that for any application or for any solution proposed to the customers?
Yes, sir. As you said, all the applications are becoming very, very data intensive. Obviously, one big solution to that is moving towards the edge solutions, wherein most of the computing is done at the device level itself, so that only the incidental data gets passed on to the data center, and that's where edge computing based data centers are forming a core for the data center growth by itself. And second, obviously, when the device is able to process a lot of edge information and incidental data is passing, it is easy to put, instead of only in tier 1 cities or tier 2 cities, we can have containerized based data centers in tier 3 and tier 4 cities, which could be purely the edge computing based data centers, and thereby processing the information there and passing maybe the incidental data to a tier 1 city or something, which could work as a centralized data center for those tier 3, tier 4 cities data center, thereby reducing a lot of load and lot of extra infrastructure costs.
Thanks. And especially this will be suiting the requirements which are places which are far away from submarine landing stations. And I was talking about especially the northeast portion of the country, wherein the latency for reaching from northeast to Bombay or Chennai, where submarine cable land, is much higher as compared to from Chennai, Mumbai to Singapore. And most of us know that the gaming has become an industry in the northeast, and the gaming requires very, very low level of latency. So possibly this processing is required more towards those areas which are bandwidth hungry, and there is no adequate supply at those stations or those places. Thank you very much. My last panelist is Mr. Satyanarayan Reddy, and he's a tech manager with Siemon, India and SAC. And he has 22 years of diverse experience in telecom and IT field. Mr. Reddy, the question is that what are the challenges, and especially from the structured cabling systems in today's DCs, considering the increasing demand of higher speeds, support within the DC and outside DC also? And the second question is that what are the common mistakes you see when it comes to IT passive cabling design? Because passive has the least priority whenever you design any solution, be it is a passive infra or be it is a passive cabling. And what are the steps you recommend to avoid those typical problems or typical mistakes which people do while designing their DCs? Mr. Reddy.
Yeah, thank you. Hope my voice is clear to you guys. Yeah. See, basically when we are all talking about the DC, right, data center. Data center, it means to say nothing but it's an infrastructure. So infrastructure is nothing but, it would be there are so many services and systems will be including, it's all we call it as a complete infrastructure. Of course, in data center there would be power and cooling, there would be some safety, security service systems would be there, and also network systems also will be there. Apart from this, there is another important system which is structured cabling system also including this. This structured cabling system will give and of course provide the connectivity between the different kind of network equipment. Network equipment is nothing but like switches, like core switches, distribution switches or access layer switches, or like routers or firewalls or load balancers or some sort of servers or storages or maybe some couple of digital space devices actually. So we need to connect all these devices. Then only the particular connection will be established to the particular server or storage, and so that the end user can be utilized for that. So to connect this, definitely there would be MeitY is required. Definitely there are a couple of challenges which people are facing it actually. The major challenging is to meeting the bandwidth or speed requirements. So customers definitely they are facing some challenges like, so how much speed I need to consider for now? How much speed would be required for future? And what could be what kind of what kind of media we need to utilize to match for current needs as well as the future needs? That would be the major biggest challenge. So to mitigate this, yes, we need to understand a couple of latest telecommunication standards from the ISO or TIA. And most of the OEMs, equipment manufacturers, they are really educating the customer and explaining the latest standards, how it will support the higher bandwidth requirements, especially in the data center environment. So we need to follow the first standards, especially read the standards, understanding the standards, and realize what exactly right now what would be the requirement and what could be the future. When we are all talking about AI, is it AI already placed? It is already placed. And there would be more AI devices will be deployed. So obviously we need to consider the high bandwidth application cable media has to be considered in the data centers. Like for example, copper cables and fiber cables, these are the major media which will be used in the data centers. The second challenge is the space and scalability. Space means within the data center, the space is very, very expensive. Generally, as far as my knowledge, actually, I measure the space as a rack use space is the major space. The customer doesn't want, or end user doesn't want to lose even one use space also. Because it's very expensive, because they are giving the power, they are cooling the equipment, they have installed the racks, they have safety, security devices are there, huge chiller plant, UPS devices, generators. So they invested too much of money and they don't want to waste the one use spaces actually. So definitely this is another challenge which we need to meet. For that, definitely the customers and end user, definitely they need to understand the high density panels, high density equipment, especially in the structured cabling point, that will be solved major of the problem actually. And also when we are talking about the scalability. So today what speed we require? Tomorrow what could be the speed required? So how many cables has to be connected? How many equipments are we are connecting now? Tomorrow how many equipment will be connected to for future needs? So these are all has to be designed before that. And if any point of the time, if we don't know the future, if we don't know how much of a scalability will be there, obviously let's follow the standard. What are the standard committees are for recommending? Let's follow that. Let's follow the scalability point of view. And the third major challenge is cable density. Cable management and density. For example, if you look at, if you went into any data center, hope you guys everybody went into data center, I have seen so many cables are there. Is it organized properly? If it is not organized, and which cable going to where exactly? We don't know that. So that is the major problem. So for the cable management perspective also, we need to design proper cable management, enough cable management, and it should be filled with 60% only, and the remaining 40%, let's leave it for the future point of view. So, and also we need to utilize the different kind of patch cords, cables which we need to connect it to the particular device to another device. Those are the thinner patch cords are already manufacturers are manufacturing, so that it will consume the less space, so that we can install more and more cables proper organizingly. And the fourth major challenge is administration. See, the people and end users, or maybe the clients, which will they connect to the devices and they leave like that only. So we need to administer that. We need to record that particular thing, which cable is going to from where to where. Until unless, for example, if any problem occurs in the particular DSAT, then there is no connectivity and which cable is going to where, and we don't know that, then again there would be a problem. That particular identifying the problem will take a lot of time actually. So administration also another issue, another challenge which we need to mitigate by following the standards. Especially the standard committees are clearly stating a couple of standards to be followed for the administration of the network. So if you can follow it, 90% of the problems will be automatically solved. So if you come to the second question, especially mistakes, what kind of mistakes we are doing? especially in the data center. We know I need a 10 Gbps speed. We know I need a 40 Gbps speed. I need a 100 Gbps speed. But are we selecting the right media? Customer says they want 10 Gbps speed. If the design is considered the low-level cable, obviously there is no point of using of it. It will not give the optimum performance. Maybe end user will purchase a very good switches, very good network devices, very good servers. If the media is underrated, automatically you won't get that. So that would be the major mistakes which we are doing. For example, there are specifically the cables are available which will support 10G to 40G in the copper point of view, and the 10G to 800G in the fiber point of view. So please select the proper cabling so that automatically mitigate that particular mistakes actually. The second mistake which always do it is installation wise they don't follow the practices. They don't follow the OEM recommendations. It means to say, I've seen a couple of people where they'll install the cable with some electrical vendors. So if you give the cables to electrical vendor, okay, you lay the cable and install it. Definitely that would be a very big mistake, because while installing the cables, while installing the system, definitely we need to follow some standards, some guidelines and best practices. Otherwise, that particular channel, which is from the A location to B location, which will not perform 100%. That electrical contractors or other contractor doesn't know that, definitely. So we need a skilled labor for this, definitely, so that this mistake will be automatically mitigated. And the third major point is, which is a major point which people will do is, what cable it will support, how much speed it will support. People doesn't know that. So we need to clearly understand, okay, this is a category 5 cable, this is a category 6 cable, this is a category 6A cable, this is a category 7 cable, this is a category 8 cable. Okay, these are the fiber cables, these are the multi-mode cables, these are the single mode cables. So there are huge numbers of multiple options are available. Then we need to understand every cable parameters, their advantages, then only you select the proper which will most suitable for the requirements, and that will be for the current and future requirements. That would be major mistake people would be doing of that. So that has to be mitigated by understanding the exact technology so that we can adapt the particular technology and install it in the DC so that we will get the optimum performance. And the fourth one is again the mistakes which are happening, especially when DC point of view, there would be multiple types of servers would be there. Multiple, like for example, there would be different kind of OEMs, different kind of equipments would be there. So the interface, what we are selecting, especially for the copper point of view or fiber point of view. For example, copper point of view, we use the interface of RJ45. But the fiber point of view, what interface we need to use? Either you need to SC, or SC interface, or LC interface, or MPO interface. So we need to select the proper interface which will be more suitable. Also, it should be suitable for compatible for all kind of devices. Okay, I considered SC and which is not support for the particular devices. I consider LC type of interface which will not be supporting for the other device. So standards are clearly recommending couple of interfaces to be used, especially in the data center, which will mitigate so many mistakes actually. So we need to follow the standards, especially the standards are from the TIA as well as ISO standards are available there. And of course, there are no major telecommunication standards from India, but everybody we follow for the US as well as the Europe standards, which are the ISO standards. So this would be the best solution to overcome the challenges as well as to mitigate the problems which are occurring in the structured cabling system. Thank you very much.
Sir, I would like to add a couple of points here, which I would support him on this. What happens is, as he said, there are a lot of equipments there. And most of the times, by the way, this is not my data. PC Magazine has done a survey 2 years back, and 70% of the outages happening in the data center is because of the cabling. 70%. Just because what happens is, as we talk this as a term itself is passive infrastructure. The passive is one of the probably most neglected infrastructure anywhere. It is not only data center, in any enterprise, in any enterprise, let me not put it even vertical wise. It is the most neglected one. However, what we forget is when we are doing this passive infrastructure, what we are doing is we are doing it for not for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We are talking about something like 15, 20 years because it goes somewhere inside the raceways, the walls, under the floor, which you cannot replace every 3 years, 5 years as you replace your active equipments. So even more focus has to be there on this, because this you do it once, and on top of it you are reusing your active equipments maybe twice or three times the life cycle. So this particular thing is one of the most neglected, and which is amounting to maximum outage. Second, I agree to him what he was saying, the administrating this particular whole thing is one big problem also. Because as we were saying, the data center and a lot of other technologies coming in with complexities coming in, the nodal density is increasing continuously. One particular solution is passive is no longer passive. There are intelligent passive solutions available wherein you can have a bird's eye view on the dashboard itself, and you would know which node of which rack of which patch panel is disconnected or connected, and thereby totally eliminating the manual intervention of looking into the pages and the earlier type of serial numbers and sequencing what we used to do. It is really available on the dashboard, on the bird's eye view, which you can see immediately, and that person can rectify that particular port, that particular patch can be rectified immediately. These were the two things which I just wanted to make a point.
Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists for sharing their thoughts. It's very rare when the banking, government, structured cabling, service provider all come at same platform and discuss the challenges. One challenge is that we have seen in the last couple of decades. Earlier, their telecom wave came and it massified the communication as a whole in the country. But those waves were supported, well supported by, they were OEM-centric networks. So most of the responsibility, accountability, or manageability was on certain OEM to deploy the network and sometimes to manage the network also. But fortunately, unfortunately, in DC space, things are broken into various pieces. You have server from X, storage from somebody else, networking from somebody else, cybersecurity from somebody else, and managing by somebody else. And on top of that, telecom was well regulated also. So there were recommendations, there were recommendation body, regulation body. But DC is a kind of free flow. Hence, people are sitting at different maturity level. I am not sure on the sector specific how people are sharing their knowledge in terms of the evolution. Possibly these kind of events are giving us insights, what others are doing. Else everybody is busy in transactions and operations. I think knowledge sharing is required for the maturity so that the others can catch up with the leaders. Else there will always be a struggle, as he mentioned, that the structured cabling or cabling is the last priority for any DC build-up case. And with this, I hope that we are going to have more challenging times and more interesting times in times to come. Thank you very much to the audience, and thank you very much to the... time is up. You can ask one question. Maybe last one question only you can take.
Sir, this is a general question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of AI data centers compared to the traditional data centers in terms of availability, reliability, scalability, flexibility, and sustainability?
Either Amit can answer or Mr. Prashant can answer this question.
Yeah, I try to answer this question actually. So the AI-based data center means especially where exactly AI was implemented. See, for example, in data center infrastructure, there are different kind of services. Is AI services are implemented in the power side, or cooling side, network side? So where exactly? So it means to say, when we implemented the AI, generally every data center will be having daily routine checks. Daily routine checks would be there actually. For that, definitely if you implement the AI, so that that particular area automatically that will be cross-checked, and the particular AI will analyze the particular data and give it to the team actually. So that the human force need not to involve at such a small things actually, so that the human force can concentrate on more high-level tasks actually. And so this human force, what they need to do is they'll collect the data and they analyze the data and they can take the decisions, and also they can make the strategies. So how can we make the data center little bit, to increase the performance or something like, they can take a decisions on that, on top of it. So this would be the major, effect on the AI when implementing the different kind of in infrastructure in the data centers.
I think more to add, just a couple of more points around it. So basically, I don't know whether you have heard about Google publishing something last year where they've reduced the carbon footprint of their data centers in San Francisco by about, 35% approximately. And that was majorly driven by AI, essentially. So the idea there was, their application workloads on their data centers, essentially, and their server utilizations were married. That data was actually being observed through IoT devices, metrics, and whatnot. That data has been married on a real-time basis that produces actionable insights like where your workload can be shifted, where are the less utilized servers on which application, which ecosystem, how can you utilize your workload, or you can utilize your infrastructure for distributing your workload better. And a lot of technology landscape, as I mentioned in my short speech as well, around, there are like clusters around Kubernetes, etc., where you can load balance your workload if you have, multi-tenant Kubernetes clusters in a way, and that's how you utilize your ecosystem better. So that not only brings, cost saving using AI, it also brings sustainability angle to it. The carbon footprint reduces because you can then shut down certain nodes if you're utilizing the nodes properly in a way, or maybe you utilize them properly, build more applications on top of it per se to save cost. Yeah.
Thank you. I just like to sum it up. They're saying that there's always push and pull between the technology, the infra applications, and all this triage need to improve each other. So there is no question of then whether AI is supporting sustainability or maintainability. We have to make it that way. Otherwise, there is no choice. The kind of application demand is there. Without AI, the customer experience or the application experience will not be able to meet the customer delights. So we have to make technology smarter, infra leaner, and I think hardware side also they are making more and more cores into the same machine and making even the CPUs, GPUs smarter. So combination of all these three are going to pull each other and improve. And with this, thank you very much once again to audience as well as the sponsors. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. And before we close the proceedings, I would request Sri Manoj Tandonji to kindly do the honors of presenting a token of appreciation to our panelists. We present to Mr. Amit Sehgal, Senior Vice President, Technology Head, HDFC Bank. Thank you, sir. We present to Shri Subhash Chandra Kesarvani, Director, National Communications Academy, Department of Telecommunications. And we present to Mr. Satyanarayana Reddy, Erla, Technical Manager, India and SAC, Siemon. We would also like to honor our partners without whose support we would not have been able to organize this event successfully. We invite our representative from Norden to kindly come up to receive a small token of gratitude. Thank you, sir. We invite from AWS. This event was being powered by AWS. Is there any representative of AWS? Sir, Norden has to receive this.
This is to you presented to. She has to bring for that's fine, sir. No, I have got my speaker one in the morning. आपकी जगह मैंने देख लिया. Yeah, please.
And let's have a group photograph. I would invite our representatives from AWS, our partners for this event. AWS. VP Group. Do we have any representatives from VP Group? From Siemon? Yes, we had on the stage itself. We present to Norden. Norden. Siemon also. To our partners, platinum partners, Siemon. We invite our gold partners, TechBridge. Can I invite our representatives from VP Group to kindly come up and receive a small token of gratitude? VP Group. VP Group is our diamond partner. I think VP Group has already received. And Ananta, our silver partner. Representatives from Ananta. EKAGA. And L&T Cloud Infinity. TechSpire. TechSpire is here. L&T. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together on that wonderful conference we had. Congratulating each one of you for your participation in making this conference a huge success. We look forward to seeing all of you next year in the 11th edition of this annual conference. Thank you once again to all our distinguished moderators, session chairs, and all our eminent speakers for their participation. We thank all our partners for extending their wholehearted support to us in organizing this event. Thank you once again. We invite all of you to kindly join us for a cup of tea and coffee before you leave the venue. And once again, reminding all our participants to kindly deposit your lanyards at the registration counter before you leave the venue. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again. Have a safe drive home. Wonderful evening ahead. Good evening and namaskar.